manipulation, first of all, there's always a manipulation in Torah and in everything. So lahavdil, even by non-Jews, you go to school, they manipulate you. You gotta come on time. Or you told me what to do. Yeah, I'm manipulating you to be a better person. I'm manipulating you to do a certain thing, whatever it might be. Wrote. Okay, so there's a story. Rabbi Herson, who used to live here, is the head shliach of New Jersey. He went to raise money. He asked a big donor, Rabbi Herson, asked David Chase. It's called Chase Campus. When you drive in there, no, David T. Chase. When you drive into Morristown, there's a big sign on both sides. It says David T. Chase Campus. So he asked them for $1 million. Rabbi Herson, I feel like you're manipulating me. So Rabbi Herson says, yes, I am. And the Rebbe manipulated me, and Hashem manipulated the Rebbe. So it doesn't mean it's a cult if you're manipulating. When every parent, Jew, non-Jew, every parent, hopefully they're doing it for goodness and kindness and love and inclusiveness and peace and, to try to raise the child in a good way. It's very easy to say, oh, you brainwashed the child. I brainwashed him. Yeah, I want him to be a good person. So I told him that every time someone comes in that's older than you, you stand up. Every time someone does something nice to you, you say, please. Did I brainwash him? Yes, because I brainwashed him to be kind and to be thankful and to be generous, right? So from that perspective, you could say every single group, and there is almost a human being alive. There's almost no human being that you could find that's not part of some kind of group. So the problem is when people are using someone else for their own gain and pleasure. If you're using up somebody else because you want them to do a certain thing because it gives you pleasure, if you want it to do for themselves, that is good. So it's like, I want you to say thank you because that's the way you're going to grow up to be a mensch. And then as they get older, you go more and more and more hands off. It's not about me. If he decides to take a different path or he wants to be, what did you say you want to be? An engineer or something?
Oh, I just
he had to answer the question in the yeshiva. Okay. So the Rambam writes that God is completely one with his knowledge. He is the knowledge, he's the knower, and he's the known. It's a difficult concept to really understand. In today's lesson, we're going to learn the cardinal doctrine of tzimtzum. What is tzimtzum? Tzimtzum means contraction. That the original contraction, which Kabbalah describes as the first necessary step, requires for an infinite almighty to create a finite world. In order for Hashem to be infinite, there has to be a world that's finite so that he's infinite. Otherwise, as a kid, I used to say, I once, a little bit chutzpahdik, I would say to the teacher, is Hashem stupid? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I'm just, whatever. So the teacher was like, how could you say that? Well, if he's not, then he's limited. So he has to be if he's everything, if he can be anything, then he also has to be stupid, or he has to be this, or he has to be that. And you're like, it's not a nice thing to say about Hashem, but
I've never even thought of that.
You see, that's the way my mind works. So the teacher, it's a little challenging for the teacher to say, no, he's not. Well, then he's limited. So in the light of what we said above, that Hashem's knowledge is wholly one with himself, or otherwise it would imply multiplicity. Yesh lahavin shkigas miktas chachamim beinehem Hashem yichaper b'adam. It's possible to understand the error of certain scholars in their own eyes. They're scholars in their own eyes. May Hashem forgive them. For even those who have erred unwittingly are in need of atonement. By the way, there are people today that will say, Hashem's not in the bathroom. Hashem doesn't go in a place that's not Kedusha. These are Talmid Chachamim, they'll tell you Hashem's not in the bathroom. He's everywhere else. Oh, how could you say that? Hashem's everywhere. He is everywhere. He's not everywhere physically. He is the concept of everywhere. There is no place where he's not. Sham kipshatai. these scholars erred and misinterpreted in their study in the rising of the Arizal and understood the doctrine of Tzimtzum literally. So what did they understand? Shakadosh Baruch Hu silek atzmai muhusei chas v'shalom me'olam hazeh. That Hashem removed himself from this world. If it says Tzimtzum, that he contracted himself and he's hidden, so he's not there. He created the world and he keeps his hands off. He only guides from above. He keeps a watchful eye, but he's not involved in the everyday. Hashem watches from above with a divine providence, all the created beings which are in the heavens and on earth below. Okay, so this is a big difference in what we're saying, that Hashem is everywhere and everything, even the stone and the mineral and the water and the mountains and the sky and the birds and every single thing Hashem is found. So besides from the fact that it's impossible to say that we take this idea of tzimtzum literally, shehu mimikire haguf al hakadosh baruch hu hanivlad mehem riber revaves avdalais aden kates. For that would be an instance of the Holy One, blessed be He, would be set apart from them by infinite myriads of separation. If it was literal, then Hashem would be separate from us. Afkam zois loy bedas yidaberu me'achar shehen ma'minim b'nei ma'minim shakadosh baruch hu yedei kol yitzurim shabo'ilam hazeh v'hashafol u'mashkiach alehem. In this thing itself, they don't speak wisely, since they are believers, the sons of believers, ma'minim b'nei ma'minim, that Hashem, blessed be, knows all the created beings in the lower worlds and exercises providence, the hashkacha pratis over them. So they themselves will admit that Hashem's knowledge and providence extends to this physical world. They contradict themselves in a way. So one who is subject to the characteristics of a physical body could be said to undergo actual tzimtzum and to depart. Previously he was here and now he's not. Right? We live in this world and after 120, we're not here anymore. It goes without saying that this cannot be said to Hashem, who's infinitely removed from this idea of a physical world and being involved in it. You know, here one day, gone tomorrow. That doesn't work that way from Hashem. They themselves admit that Hashem's knowledge extends to this physical world. Hashem's knowledge of them does not add plurality and innovation to him, for he knows all by knowing himself. He doesn't. It's like, oh, since he contracted himself, there's certain things he might not know. But he is the knowledge, so that's impossible. All he did it was from our perspective so that we would be able to have free choice and we wouldn't expire due to the tremendous godly light that would be, like the Bnei Yisrael listening to the first of the 2 Ten Commandments and just not able to withstand that. So as it were, Hashem's essence, being, and knowledge are all one. So it's impossible to say Hashem's word and the knowledge of everything intimately, what goes on, is Hashem. It's not like he decided to remove himself so he's not part of that anymore and everything operates on its own. He is all of that, but in a hidden way. Since Hashem's knowledge and providence extends to this world, and since his knowledge is one with him, it follows that Hashem himself is to be found within the physical world. Unlike the king who sits in the palace and he looks over his kingdom once in a while, he stands up on the tower and he overlooks the people and he says, and they all bow to him or whatever. The king himself is found wherever providence and knowledge is found. Everything else is simply, a mashal that we try to bring an example of a king and its people. And everything else that we bring, the sun and the rays and all the other mashalim that we bring. True enough. It is only through divine service that this world may be transformed into a place in which Hashem is revealed. Nonetheless, Hashem is present in this physical world, which feels itself to exist independently to the same degree as Hashem is present within the higher spiritual worlds. So the takeaway is Hashem is present in our life and knows exactly what's going on. Don't be mistaken to think that Hashem is too busy. He's probably up there worrying about more important things. Whatever I do over here, not such a big deal. No. Every Hashem is tuned into every single detail of our lives. All right, let's stop mincha.